Good evening, everyone. My name is Laney Shaughnessy, and welcome to Spindle TV. I'm your host for the evening. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully you're doing well. Tonight, we're probably not going to have a whole lot of viewers. Hopefully we do, but we're going to do a simple Q&A. You guys ask questions. I'll answer, do my best to answer those questions. Show you the ways that I would approach your particular questions and things if it has to do with the Vectric software. And then while we're doing that, I'm going to be kind of discussing a very simple design. Creating this design using just different shapes and how to manipulate those shapes to create end up with the finished product, if you will. So I want you to see kind of my approach and see if it's something that you might find beneficial, or the way you might look at things, help you look at things a little bit different on how you approach your designs and stuff. We're going to be making a simple decorative kind of Victorian frame, if you will, for like a 2D V carving and stuff. But hopefully you'll enjoy that as we're discussing, and that's going to basically just help kind of fill the time, because I know there's not going to be a whole lot of questions. I hope there is. I hope you guys are interactive like the last Q&A we had. But if you have a question, put a question mark or so in front of your question instead of at the end. That way I can identify it easily at the in the chat. I can identify your question easily if you have a question mark in front of the question instead of at the end of the question. It just makes it easier for me to find it in the discussions y'all are having. But we're going to be, as I said, I'm going to do my best to answer your questions, and go ahead and ask, please. No matter how silly you might think it be, or how, don't be nervous about it sounding or anything sounding like a dumb question, because there's no such thing as a dumb question. Now you say that and somebody will say, yeah, there really is. But I'm sure there are dumb questions in life, but not when you're learning. When you're learning, if you don't ask, you don't know, right? And you don't know what you don't ask. So ask the question, and we'll do our best to answer. I'll do my best to answer. And as we're doing that, I want to show you, like I said, we're going to kind of draw out and create a Victorian frame using a variety of shapes, rectangles, arcs, and curves, and node editing, and a lot of things. And hopefully you'll get something out of it. Who knows? All right, let's see what we have here. Good evening, by the way, to everyone that's just now popping in. And American Made, what's the best way to set the center on my 90-degree side cutter with the 4th axis centers? So if you're, depending on your rotary axis now, American Made, let me know if you have a digital woodcarver rotary axis, your 4th axis, or if you have a different machine, because most machines are run over your stock, while the digital woodcarver is 90 degrees, and it comes, the 4th axis, rotary axis, is mounted on the side of the table. Let me know, but the best way to center the cutter is if you don't have a automatic kind of touch off point that is either built in by the manufacturer, or something where you can touch a point, and that will register, and it'll take into account the offset distance, or the distance of your where your live center point is located, which would be your 0. If you don't have anything like that, then for me the best way that I would recommend is on the live center itself, on the tailstock side of things. Generally they're about 1 inch in diameter. They come to a point, and if it's a live center, it's generally the widest part of that live center is about 1 inch in diameter. Well, if I bring the bit in and I kiss the bit up to the side of that live center, then technically I am 1/2 inch away from center. So if my tip of my bit is kissing the outside of that 1 inch diameter piece of stock, then I am 1/2 inch away from center. So in the software, like we use Planet CNC TNG, in the software, I would just type in the Z box 0.5 and hit enter, and then that sets my 0. And I do that for every bit. Now you can make or create kind of a permanent touch point that is a known distance from the center of your stock. So let's say that we'll use a Sharpie as an example. Let's say that on your table, from your tabletop, if you have, let me see what you said, American Made, really quickly. You said 2 jigs, 1 Sherlin extended lathe, Sherlin 4th axis lathe, pull Q horizontal. Okay, so from your spur drive and your live center points, right? Because we stick that into the center of the stock. From there to your tabletop and everything, or any kind of fixed location, it's a known distance. Okay. If you're coming from overhead, if your router is coming down onto the stock, you can fix or touch any point, and then you can program into your Z the distance from that point that you touch, which you would pre-measure ahead of time, to your live center. And how I determine that is before I put any stock in, I get the bit perfectly lined up with the center point of my live center, zero out the Z, and then I go over and move and touch off to the point that I'm going to be touching off on. And that offset distance, that reading, that's my offset distance. So when I touch off on that point, I just have to program in that number, and that's how far away I am from center. So that's how I would recommend doing it. If you ever get a chance, on my channel, Spindle TV, scroll down to my rotary axis projects. I'm making like a weave basket. Video 2, part 2, you'll see my 4th axis setup, and you'll see my touch point that I've created, and I go into explanation of how I wired it up and all that stuff and everything. But check that out, and that kind of might give you some idea. So let's see how that works. All right, Roger Brown. Well, at least you're watching, man. That's a trooper right there. Your power went out, so you're watching on your phone. Thank you very much, Roger. I appreciate that. While we're discussing things, let's go ahead and I'm gonna switch over to screen of the VCarve screen that I'm on, and then I could kind of draw out for American Made what I was kind of illustrate what I was trying to say. Let's see here. Let's get me down there, and I'm in VCarve Pro tonight. So tonight we're going to create a project. I'm just gonna set up a project right now that's about 17.5 inches wide, 24 inches tall, 3/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to be referencing off the material surface, and I'm going to be starting in the center, just because usually I start from the bottom left corner, but I'll work from center tonight. Now when I click OK, I'm going to come in here just very quickly, and let's say we have this. Let's say we have, bear with me just a moment. All right, so first thing I want to do is I want to take these two objects and this object, and I want to center them, align them up and down. Oops, let's try that again. Hold that shift key when you're selecting more than one object. Get those centered up and down. I want to get this object centered with this up and down, and then I'm going to weld those two shapes together. And let's weld that together as well too. All right, so, and let's weld those together. All right. So very rough drawing. Very rough drawing here. But let's say that your router, and let me do this. Here's our bit inside of a collet, inside of a router. Close that, pull that up, select all those three, and again align left to right, center, and group. All right, you don't need. We'll talk about drawing and stuff here in just a moment, but let me just say this. All right, let's say that the bit here, if I get this bit perfectly aligned with, you know, my center point and everything, and I zero out my Z there, whether I'm coming in from the side, coming in from the top, if my router's mounted on the top, wherever your router's positioned. But if I get that tip of that bit before I put a piece of stock in, referenced with that live center, then if I create or have a particular place that I can touch off that's a relative distance from that, in this case, we'd want to be in the kind of up position. We'd want to be touching, you know, somewhere up here. So if I was coming in from the top, so if I come over and I was to touch off on this position here, that distance, that vertical distance from this point to this point, that is my offset. So when I'm touching off on my fixed point that I can touch off to, because it might be hard to touch off to the outside to have the bit, let me close this. It might be tough to have the bit touch off to the outside of the live center if your stock is quite wide. We can do up to 8-inch diameter stock, and your bits aren't, you know, a lot of your bits aren't that long, right? So reaching that live center to be able to program in that distance from that point to that center, right? That radius, if you will. That might not be possible, but finding a fixed position that you could touch off to, and then you just program that number into your Z setting, you're basically telling the machine, hey, where my bit is in this place and time, I am, in this drawing illustration, 1 inch away from center, right? So I'm typing in 1 inch in my Z. So that way, if I were to take my Z over to a clear spot and type in Z0 to move that to the 0 position, I would come down to that 0 position, right? And then I would be in line with that tip, right? So hopefully that little illustration helped out a little bit, American made. All right, let's go ahead and get back over here, and let's get rid of that. And the same thing if you're coming into the side. Check out my video on Spindle TV, on this channel, Spindle TV, under the lives category. Scroll down quite a ways, but there's 2 live videos, 4th axis videos, and I'm making a weave kind of basket. It's part 2. Part 2 talks about the touch-off point that I've created and how I wired it up and all that stuff. And I've changed the wiring since then and made it a little bit more cleaner, but you'll get the idea. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are doing a live Q&A. Now, we're only going to be, tonight, maybe hour and a half at the most. I know I say that all the time, but this is the fact. I've got to do some major renovations in the office here and everything, and I only have tonight to do it. So I've got, you know, to work throughout the night and everything tomorrow until before some people arrive. But so I'm not going to be long tonight, but I want to make this eventful. It's a Q&A. Ask questions. Put a question mark in front of your questions. Ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. In the meantime, I'm going to be drawing a kind of a Victorian frame, and we're going to create this frame using a variety of different shapes. Okay? So, and I want you to watch. We're going to use the offset tool. We're going to use the shape tools. We're going to use node editing. And I want you to kind of just watch and learn and listen. And it's going to be kind of a filler while I'm waiting for questions from you. But hopefully you'll get something out of this, and maybe you'll see my approach when I'm creating, you know, designs and stuff and shapes and all. And it might be useful to you in your designing, or it might be totally not useful. Who knows? Let's hope it is, right? So first things first, let's get our drawing into the screen here. And I'm going to kind of start off at the top. And I'm going to basically, I'm going to be creating these different shapes. But ultimately, I'm going to be creating the top left quadrant of the shape at the end of it all. And that quadrant is going to get mirrored over horizontally, vertically, and then horizontally again to create the entire frame, because I don't need to draw the frame in its entirety. I only really need to draw the front or the top left quadrant. I could draw any quadrant, but I'm going to draw the top left quadrant, and then I'm going to mirror that around to create the entire frame, and then we'll weld the parts together and stuff like that. So let's get started with the most decorative part of the design is at the top of the frame, in this general area here. That square has nothing to do with anything right now, but there's going to be a lotus flower. Okay, just a 2D kind of a lotus flower. And so that's what we're going to start off with, and then we'll build around that. And then we'll be taking questions and everything. We'll pause and take questions and stuff like that as well too. Brooks, hang tight for 2 seconds. Let me get the first shape on the board, and then we'll answer your question. The first shape is going to take the arc tool. And with the arc tool, I'm going to do my first click here, and then I'm going to draw a line straight up. And on that line, I'm going to come up probably about, let's see, let's zoom in here. Roughly around 7 inches. And I'm going to pull this arc out to roughly about there. All right. And then I'm going to mirror that by flipping it. I want to create a mirrored copy, but I'm going to flip it to the right. Okay. So that's going to be the center petal of the lotus. Now those two shapes need to be joined together, those two individual shapes, in the join tool. The join tool is the first icon, last row of edit objects. And currently right now what it's saying in the join tool is we have 2 items selected, the left and the right arc. And then after joining, when we click the join button, we'll have just one closed vector. So that's what we want. Brooks Martin asked a question about Planet CNC. Planet CNC, for you guys and girls who don't have it, it's a controller program, motion controller program, like Mach 3 and Carbide Create, or Carbide Motion and all that stuff. So it's a controller program, and it's the controller program we work with. Planet CNC seems to be fully programmable of the G-code generator for subroutines, loops, and do whiles. Do you know of anyone fully using that dynamically? Pick 2 opposite corners to resurface. So you may be referencing or kind of talking about transformational matrix and things like that as well too, where you can pick 2 points and it'll adjust the design accordingly so that it carves whatever it is or surfaces whatever it is square. Brooks, at this point in time, other than myself, I don't know of anybody that's fully using the machine or the Planet CNC software to all. I mean, that software is powerful. There is a lot of things you can do. So your do whiles, your loops, your bookmarks, start here, carve here, skip this whole section, carve this next section, all of those things. The software is just phenomenal. Transformational matrix is great for sign makers and stuff, especially vinyl cutters and all that. If I have a metal backer, hardy back, I don't know what, it's not hardy backer, but a metal backboard with some vinyl on there, and I have some reference points, I can bring my camera over on my CNC, and I can identify those reference points, and I can turn on transformational matrix, and it'll adjust the design to those reference points, and it's just like a vinyl cutter, right? So I can carve out that sign perfectly around that vinyl sticker and all with transformational matrix. Warp, if you're probing and you warp the design you can warp onto and carve on, twisted, bowed, curved, carved, projects, uneven surfaces. Skateboards are a great reference of warping. So people who make custom skateboards and do custom carvings on them, they have their curves to them on their sides and everything, and you need those carvings to follow those curves so you can probe those points out and you can warp them. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff packed inside of Planet CNC TNG. And as far as the digital wood carver customers, I don't know anyone that's using it to its fullest ability. But hey, if you want to be a pioneer and be the first, go for it. All right. Brooks Martin, yes, it's usable on all CNCs. Planet CNC software comes with a control board. So you would take out your current control board of your CNC machine and install this one. Hook up all your axes, limit switches, and all that stuff and controls to that control board, and your inputs and outputs and all that. And then you can run Planet CNC. You don't need to run, Mach 3 or what have you. So yeah, it comes as a program. You purchase the program and the board as a package. The difference between weld and join. Very, very good question. So I want to say that Joe DeFavis, I want to say that you might also want to know the difference between join and group, right? So let's take two objects really quickly. Let's take this rectangle here, and let's take this circle here. All right. If I'm joining these two parts, I can't have any intersecting lines. Okay, so the join tool, if I go to use the join tool on this, they're already closed. There's no way to like physically join with the join tool. I have to join by using one of the other options for trimming, to trim and everything. So my weld tool now, on the other hand, takes two parts, gets rid of all the center stuff, and just keeps the outside of the shape. So if I weld those two parts, that's the weld, right? So if I weld those two parts, it gets rid of all. It's just like welding two pieces of metal together to create a brand new shape, right? A brand new part and all. So we have two shapes that when we weld them together creates this one new shape. Now joining is not going to let me join two shapes together. Joining is mostly used for when I have a vector. Let's go to node editing, and I cut this vector, and I have a vector that's open. Whether that vector is open with the nodes close together, further apart, or whatever, I've got my join tools. I can join or close this by bringing the two endpoints to a common point of intersection. So that would look something like this, which distorts the rectangle, right? It brings the 2 points together to a common point of intersection. I could join these two parts with a smooth curve. So what that does is it just joins, instead of a straight line like it should be, it joins with a smooth curve and closes that off. Or I could join this with a straight line. So this shape here on the board, if I join it with a straight line, of course, that's going to join and close it with a straight line. If I am using the join tool here, my tolerance, my nodes and everything, they have to be well within, my tolerance range. So if I'm here, oops, bear with me a second. If I am here within this range, that's still too wide because I need to be within 0.004 of an inch, right? If my lines were just cut but the nodes were kind of on top of each other, I could, come in with the join tool, and that will allow me to join or close. Now I could change my tolerance, make my tolerance larger, but then that's going to distort my design, right? So 0.004 is where you want to be. And if I just cut this vector, node editing, and I just cut it right here in the center, cut right there, not in the center, but right there. So this looks like it's together, but it's an open vector, okay? The vector is open, but I can join, because within my tolerance, that open vector, I can click the join button and close that. That's joining. Now, where most people get confused is the difference between joining and grouping, not joining and welding, because that's two completely different beasts. When we're welding two parts, again, when we're welding two parts, we're taking two shapes and we are creating one when we weld. But if I were to group these objects together, okay, oops, that's not the group tool. If I were to group these objects together, that means when I click on them, they are being treated in the software as one item. Now, grouping doesn't join. Grouping doesn't weld. Grouping just takes two separate items or more, two or more items, and it groups them together so the software kind of treats it as one object that we're moving around, but it's still two separate objects. Even though they're joined together, if I go to my vector validator and I look for potential issues and everything, I still have 4 intersections where my circle intersects over my rectangle. So they are not joined, they're just grouped for the convenience of being able to manipulate, move things around as a group so you don't misalign something and all. But if I were to join them, I could use my scissor tools, right, to, let me get them ungrouped. If I were to join them, like welding, I could trim those together in one direction or the other, doesn't matter. But grouping doesn't join, welding doesn't join, join joins. Join is for taking an open vector and closing those nodes up, joining them together to create a closed vector. So hopefully that was I hope that answers your question. It was a confusing answer, but hopefully it was a good one. All right, let's talk about our lotus leaf here. All right. Here's what we got to do. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need to create the petals, okay, for this lotus leaf. And we have to determine how far apart the spacing we want for the next petal, the next petal, the next petal kind of thing. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do an offset. And I'm going to go outward. And I'm going to offset a distance of 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to create, all right, 1/8 is too much for this. Let's go a 16.06. Oh, that was 0.6. Hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. I can't type tonight. 0625. Here we go. All right, perfect. Okay, and actually I want to go closer. I want to go 0.04. Control Z to undo. We're going to settle on 0.04. Beautiful. That looks good to me. Because I want my petals to still be somewhat close. Now, I'm also going to take my original shape, the two arcs that I've joined together as one, okay? Those were two open vectors joined together at the top and the bottom to create one closed vector, Joe. So, but I'm also going to offset inward that 0.04 as well. Now that inward vector, I'm going to take it, and the end of that vector is going to, I'm going to come right about here, just a little up from the bottom. It can be anywhere, but it's on the offset. I'm on the offset vector, and I'm deciding to choose, I'm picking just a little bit above the tip of my original part. My original piece is this piece. I'm just going just a little bit higher. But I want the point, this point, I want to grab this point and I want to snap it to that offset. And then I'm going to, if you single, when you're double clicked on an object, let me show you this. Let's say I have this rectangle here. When I double click on any object, it puts it in transform mode. Transform mode means I can move, I can size, I can rotate, mirror copy, and all that stuff. Now, that middle square is not just for moving things around, grabbing and moving, because if to move an object, you have to either grab it on the pink line somewhere or the middle square. But if you single click on that middle square, that is also the pivot point. By default, all parts are rotating on themselves when they're rotating, and the pivot point can be moved, so I can single click on that square and it'll show the pivot point. And then I can drag that pivot point anywhere I want to so that when I'm rotating off that pivot point. Okay? So what we're going to do with our lotus petal here is, let me get rid of that, on this offset that we moved over here and kissed up to that edge, I'm going to double click on it to put it in transform mode, and I'm going to single click on that center point to get the pivot point, and then I'm going to drag that pivot point down to the point here. Okay, I want to be down on that point, and then I'm going, because I want to pivot off that point, and I'm going to grab this blue corner box here, and I want to rotate out. And when I rotate out, I want this edge of the lotus to touch my edge of my original part. Okay, so I want to come over and bring that out to just about there. I want that touching kind of close enough. I want that touching. All right, now I'm going to take that petal and I'm going to mirror copy it. Flipping, create a mirrored copy, flip about, job center is also checked, and I want to flip horizontally to create the other side. All right. And then I'm going to take both of these objects here, and I'm going to offset them outward by that 0.04. That 0.04 is going to stay consistent throughout. And I'm going to go outward, but I'm also going to select them. I should go both directions. I should just choose both directions the next time, but I'm going to go inward as well too. And the next one I'll do both directions because I want to do that offset inward and outward. Now, while we're here, I'm going to remove the one on the right and this one here on the left. Again, I'm going to grab the point. This time on this point, I want to be on the line here, okay? I want to be kind of on the line, but I'm actually going to be down lower. So I want to kind of, I'm going to pick a spot a little bit lower, right? There's good. So I'm not going to be going up high, I'm going back down low now. So that's right there is my middle petal. This is my original part right here. And so I'm coming back down a little bit, and I'm actually going to be lower than my original part. I don't really want to be that low. Let me see how, let's put a line there. I want to be lower, but not that low. So let's just come up just a little bit. There's good. Okay. And pull that up. We're going to take this and once again, click on the pivot point on the center. Drag it down to that point at the bottom, and then we're going to rotate this out, and I want this shape touching my second petal, that petal there. Okay, so let me get back over there, and I want to rotate just a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to take that object and mirror it to the other side. Okay, we're going to stop there for a minute so we can answer another question. Brooks Martin asked, Laney, does VCarve or Aspire have a way to equally divide a vector into 5 equal segments? So I'll show you my approach, Brooks, and then you can kind of go from there. So if we'll do a line, then I'll also do a rectangle and show you kind of the two ways I would do it. So let's say I have a line here, and let's say I have a line here. And let's say that I take that line and I'm going to hold down the control key, and I'm going to just drag out 5 copies of that line, right? If I select those 5 copies of that line and I hold down my shift key and select this line last, then I can use my alignment tool to align them all to the center of that line, and then I can space inside that last vector horizontally to space them. Now, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments. if I wanted to separate into 5 segments, then I would only use 4 lines, right? So I could take those 4 lines, select them first, this line last, center, and then space equal distance to create my 5 individual segments, right? And then I could just, if I needed to cut them, I could cut them on those lines. So that's one way if it was a single kind of vector thing and you needed to divide it up into sections. Now, let's do it as a shape now. Let's say that I have a rectangle here. And on this rectangle, I'm going to take, and the size of this rectangle is, let me stretch this out so everybody can see. All right, let's size this up. I'm going to go 17 by, we'll go 2.5. Just a random number, nothing major. 17.5. I want to kind of be the same size as my board. There we go. All right. So let's say that I wanted this 17.5 of my board. I wanted it divided into 5 sections, right? I could come into the rectangle tool here and I could take my width and I'm either going to use the number if it's not the same width as my board, but if it's the same width as my board, then I'm going to use the letter W or the letter X. So in this case, I'll use the letter W, and I'm going to divide that by 5 and hit equals, and that gives me a 3.5 inch. Now I'm going to go ahead and come over here and just click this. And basically what I have just created is 1/5 of this rectangle. So if I hold down the control key, I can drag out copies and snap my second one into place. My third one, snap it, get my snapping tool working on me. My fourth one, and my 5th one. Let me get everything snapped together. There we go. And so I could divide it up that way as well too. So that would be, Brooks Martin, that would be kind of the ways that I would equally divide a vector into however many sections I would need. That's the 2 ways, my 2 approaches. So now, again, if this rectangle was not the same width as my board, let's say it was in here, still, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be creating a rectangle that's the size of my board, which in this case is 10.4544, whatever. I'm going to divide that by 5, hit equals, and then I'm going to click to create that 1/5 of that segment. And then I'm going to just hold down the control key and just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I'll take all those and I'll line them up and down so they're all lined. But that would be a way that I would do that. All right, so JR says, question, does Planet CNC support automation and importing variable tags, i.e. Design in a 10" by 3 1/4" circle? Can I run a macro subroutine Excel file too? I have no clue. JR, you'll have to research Planet CNC on that one. I have no idea what you just said, to be honest with you. I don't even know why Excel would play a role in anything, but I'm sure that's something that's a Mach 3 thing or something that you guys do, or some other kind of controller, or some old school way of doing stuff, writing out some kind of macro. But you'd have to research planet-cnc.com. I don't have a way to answer that at all. I'm not even going to attempt it. It's a good question, but a little over my head. All right, so let's see here. JR says, question continued. Automatically change it to 20 by 2 circle and dynamically change toolpath width, depth, and cut to the tool type and tool type. Now you can scale your design that you bring it in. You can change your design. You can scale it. You can rotate it. You can do all of that stuff. But I don't think that's exactly what you're referring to. Again, that would be a Planet CNC question. And you can write Andre, he'll answer you all day, all night. Support at planet-cnc.com. You can copy and paste those two questions right into your email and let Andre's the creator of Planet CNC, let Andre create that or answer that for you, because he developed the software. He knows it and everything, but that's above my head and my pay grade. All right, sorry JR, but you got a little bit too far above me. That's kind of a little bit of a that is yeah, I don't deal with automation. Okay. All right, let's get rid of this and come back up here. All right, so we had just mirrored our two parts over and everything, and so we're now going to offset those like before. We're going to offset those outward and inward, both directions. We'll use that time, and we'll go ahead and create those two shapes again. And then we're going to I'll take the right one, since I'm going to mirror it over when I get into position. I'll delete the right one. And on the left one, I'm going to come in, and on this one, I'm going to bring down to the offset. And I want to be kind of somewhat close to in line with the other part here. And this time on this last petal, this will be the last petal, when I rotate it, when I create the mirrored copy and I rotate it, I'm going to actually rotate it kind of almost straight across. And let's go about... I think I'll be happier. I want it straight across, pretty much about like that. And I'm going to be happier if I can bring this part. I'm actually going to bring this side there. I'm going to bring that down and snap it to that outside edge. Let me think off the top of my head. That's my straight across petal. It's going to get a line to cut off. Yeah, that'll work. All right, now I do want it kind of somewhat straight, so I'm going to bring in a guideline, and I'm going to snap the guideline to here, and you see how I've kind of overshot the straightness. So I'm going to go back into that rotate, and I'm going to pull that back up to right about there. I kind of want that, you know, somewhat straight, and my ends are kind of in line, little bit more over, but you know, pretty close to in line with that there. Now, once again, this one will not be offset outward or anything. We're going to just mirror it over. So create the mirror copy and flip that horizontally. All right, now the magic. All right, let's take a line here, and we're going to draw a line straight across from here to here. Spacebar to finish. We can get rid of the guideline now. All right, here's what we do. So the first two main petals, not the center, the first two main petals are going to get grouped together. G for group. I'm going to hit group. Now group is the fourth icon on the first row of edit objects over here, but the keyboard shortcuts are G for group, U for ungroup. So I'm going to group those two shapes together, and I'm then going to hold down my shift key and select that offset of my original petal, the offset. I'm going to select that offset last. That's going to be my boundary, and I'm going to use the regular trim tool, and I want to trim clearing inside the boundary. So we're going to get rid of that. And then once I've done that, I can delete that boundary. So we'll delete that boundary. Now, next petals. Down here, we'll select these two, group them together, G for group. We're going to select the two offsets, G for group, so two separate groups. We're going to select our Let me see if I grouped the right ones. I did. We're going to select our petal group here. Hold down the shift key, select our offset group last, and clear inside the boundary. Once we've done that, we can then delete that group. And then finally, we're going to take this shape here and this shape here. We're going to group those together. Select our two offsets. Group them together. And they don't necessarily need to be grouped because they are together as one. So we will select our first group here. Select our outside offsets and trim, clearing inside the boundary. And then once we've done that, we're going to take our scissors and, well, first of all, let's get rid of the offset. Okay. Then we're going to take our scissors and we're going to trim away our line at the top here and the bottom. Okay, just like that. And that will be our lotus flower. Okay. And then we're going to take and offset that entire flower to create just a big boundary around it. And I think I'm going to offset, it's going to be outward. I think I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch, or let me see what 1/4 of an inch looks like because I'm kind of small. 1/4 of an inch is way too much. That is not what we're doing. Let's go with a 0.125. Let's see here. Nope. All right, turn off sharp corners. We don't want sharp corners. I kept seeing what are those points. We're going to go a 0.8. 0.08. Laney, learn how to type tonight. There we go. Offset. Perfect. 0.08. That'll be our offset. Okay. All right, Brooks Martin, thank you very much. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for that super chat. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the chat, there is a super chat on the board. Super chats are a way to help out the channel and help me out as well. We have super chat and super stickers. It's a little $sign below the comment area where you type in your comments and stuff. And it just helps support the channel. So, Brooks Martin, always a trooper. I appreciate you, man. Let's close that. So now we have our lotus flower here. And I'm going to go ahead and drag that up to the top here. Okay. And that's going to be kind of an accent piece at the top. We'll size it up. We'll go a little bit bigger. Not much, but though. Size it up. And we're going to create a mirror copy all the way around, so we don't need to do anything with that anymore from there. All right. And bear with me a second. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to now kind of start out with a rectangle, if you will. And I always, a lot of my shapes, just so you know, a lot of my shapes, and you'll see this if you ever went and watched my video, my class video, not a live. No, it was a live. I think it was live. But how to draw a Maltese cross. That uses guidelines and rectangles to create this Maltese firefighter cross and everything from just those rectangles and stuff and other shapes. But if you ever see that, you'll kind of see my approach and stuff. But this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw kind of a full rectangle, almost like it's my full frame. Now, mind you, I'm only going to be focusing kind of on that top left quadrant. I don't really care what's on the right side or any of that stuff. I'm kind of going to be focusing my attention here. And I'm also going to be focusing my attention just, in this case, the center of my board is going to be my center point, if you will. So anything below that center line, I'm not paying attention to it either. So basically from that center line up is my focus point, my focal point and everything. Okay. And so what I want to do is let's go ahead and let's bring this out some. about like that. I want to make sure, I do want to make sure it is centered left to right. So I'll go to the alignment tool and align to material, left to right. And I'm going to go right into kind of node editing mode here on this. And what I'm looking for is I want to create kind of a, it's not really an S, but kind of an S curve, a nice French curve, if you will. This Victorian frame is what we're end up making and everything done, but I want this kind of like French curve kind of shape to it. So what I'd like to do is I want to go into node editing, and the first thing, well actually the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go with a fillet first. That'll be a fillet first. And I'm going to go with a large fillet, like a 2-inch fillet, normal fillet. And I'm going to kind of round that over. Actually, I want to go bigger than that. Let's try that. Okay, that'll work. Now I'm going to go into node editing, and I should have these points that I can kind of work with and stuff. Well, I don't want this to really be an arc. I want a nice flowing curve. Now I'm also going to, let's do the center line first. Right here in the center, I'm going to cut the vector there, okay? And because that's going to play a role in just a minute. But I need to delete this point right here. I just want to go from point A to B for right now. I'm going to delete this point, and you can see I'm getting more kind of a carve here because it's still an arc. I'm going to change it to a Bezier curve now. So I'm going to change it to a curve, and this will let me kind of manipulate. This will kind of let me manipulate this curve a little bit to really flow it out. And I want to create a cut on the vector right here. That's not quite my center line. Let's get it right on the center line here. Okay. And now that I have this Bezier curve, I need to get rid of this point. So again, point A to B. So let's delete that point. Now I have this curve that I can work with, and I can really kind of start to create the shape. Now I want this anchor point here that that I cut. I'm going to use the down arrow. I'm a big fan of using, instead of the mouse, the down arrows and up arrows and left and right. But I want to pull this down to right about here, and there's going to be kind of a cutoff point over here, but this will be good. And I want to pull this arc, and I don't care. I'm not really concerned right now about it crossing over the lotus, because again, there's going to be a cutoff point in just a moment. But what I do care about is that I have kind of this wide curve. Let's go a little deeper there. See if I can pull that out a little bit more. And then I want it to kind of a S around to about like this. All right, so on this shape. And then what I want to do is I want to offset that. So I want to offset outward. And when you, just very important so you know this star, imagine this star is you. Okay, that star is you. And you imagine you are looking at this line right here. That start point, wherever your start point is, imagine that you are looking at that start point. Your left and your right is the same thing as the left side of the line or the right side of the line, inside or outside. So if you are here staring at this starting point, This is the left side of the line. This is the right side of the line. Okay? This is the left inside. This is the right outside. Now, if I took and put you here, right? And you were looking at the start point here. This is your left. This is your right. Right, left, right? But if we look at offsets and things, it says outside right, inside left. Now, by looking at this, and again, I'll make this the start point for a minute. Let me go into node editing really quickly so I don't confuse you. All right, see that green node, right? So looking at this, outside right, your automatic instinct is that you're offsetting outside, right? No. If you were outside right, it would actually go inward because this is the right side of that start point. This is the right side, this is the left side. So if I'm looking at the line in front of me here, the start point in front of me, my left, my right. So this would be the right outside, this would be the left inside, even though you think, no, damn, no matter how I look at it, that's still the outside, right? No, it's just where the start point is, right? So if I were to offset this line outside right, it's going to create that new line here, right? So, and let me do select new so you can see, and I'll go bigger, 0.125. Offset outside right, it's offsetting inward. So inside left goes outward because of where the start point is. Now, if my start point would have been at the end here, then it would have been correct. Outside right, inside left. Because if my start point would have been down there, remember, it's wherever you're standing looking at that line. If you're standing looking at that line, and this is the start point, make start point, delete that, delete this. That's the start point. Now if I go offset outside right, it's going to go outward like it's supposed to. And then inside left, because that's your left, this is your right if you're standing there looking at the line. A lot of people get confused on that, and I just want to make sure that you don't, okay? All right. So hopefully that was helpful. Who knows? Who knows? All right, Kool-Aid. Thanks, bro. Man, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, Kool-Aid. Get some Kool-Aid. Awesome. Nice, nice. And any update on the new shop you're building? Yes, it's not going anywhere right now. It's not happening right at this time. So no update. Nothing's happening right now. Hopefully one day, because I'm overcrowded, I don't even enjoy carving and woodworking that much anymore because I'm just so cramped up. One day, I'll work on it. Those super chats keep coming in. Where we going? If each one of my subscribers donated $1, we'd be somewhere. All right, let's see here. Let's get rid of the star. That's not part of the design. So this shape here, I want to offset it. And my start point is here, so I want to offset to the right outside. And I'm going to offset outside, and I'm going to go about a, let me see a 1/4 inch, what that looks like. Yep, 1/4 inch is good. We're going to go 1/4 inch. And from there, we're going to let's go a little bit more in a 1/4 inch. Let's go Control Z, 3/8. Let's go 3/8. Now, 0.375. And again, there's going to be a cutoff point here in just a moment. Now, the next offset that I do, okay, the next offset that I do is I'm going to do an offset of the this line here a certain amount, and it's going to be wider. And then I'm going to do an offset of this line going the outside way, and it's going to be closer, right? So let's do this one first, the inside. So we're going to go, and again, if we look at the node editing, All right, on this line, the start point is eluding me. What is the start point? Let me delete that. All right, so the start point is still this line right there. That's still that green line. It's still that one. And so if you look at the arrow, see the, I don't know if you can see. Can you see that? It's hard to see on the screen. But if you ever look next to the node at the beginning or the end of the line, there'll be an arrowhead. And that arrow points to the direction the line is traveling, start to end. Okay, so this is my start point. So again, on that one, I need to offset inward. And this one's going to be a wider offset. I'm going to probably go the 3/8 inward. Okay. I'm going to probably go 3/8 inward. No, I'm going to actually go more. I'm going to go offset inward. I'm going to go half. We'll just increment it up, 0.5. There we go. And this outside line here, I'm going to offset a smaller amount, shorter amount. So I'm going to go an 1/8. Oops. And that one is outside as well. Sorry. I'm going to go 1/8. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. All right, now we're going to take the rectangle tool, and we're going to, on the rectangle tool, I'm going to, on my offsets, let's go right back to, I don't know, pick a spot anywhere. Let's go here, and I'll center it up and everything in just a moment and stuff. But with this rectangle, let me get it centered. A line left to right on the material, and let's bring this in to right there. I want this edge to kind of, be touching kind of right there on that bottom line, and that's good. Now, on this, the outside offset of the lotus and everything, and this line here, and as a matter of fact, let me bring this out just a little bit past that line. This line here, they're going to kind of all be welded together or trimmed together in just a moment. But before we do that, let's at least get the some of this cleaned up so you can kind of start getting a better visual and all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scissors, and this arc right here, I'm going to trim away that arc, get rid of it, all the little pieces of it. Okay, and then I'm going to trim away this part of that border where the lotus connects right there. I'm not going to trim anymore right now at this time. I'm going to leave that be. Because eventually, in just a moment, I'm going to be drawing a line. I'm going to be cutting everything in half. Because remember, we're only doing one quadrant. Now, from here, I can go ahead and I can trim that line away. I don't need that anymore either. All right, good. Now, this rectangle, let's bring that down to right about there. And what I want to do, ouch, got something biting me. What I want to do is on the rectangle, the two sides, they're going to be gone, and I'm only going to have the top and bottom lines. Okay. And the top line is really going to be, let me bring this up here. The top line is really going to be just nothing. Basically, I'm going to, hell, I'm probably just better off. Let me just draw a line since let's get rid of the rectangle. I'm just going to draw a line because we're going to be getting rid of the two sides and the top. So what does that leave? Just the bottom, right? So let's go ahead and I'm going to pick a spot right over here. And I'm just going to draw a line straight across. Make sure I'm snapped to 90 degrees. I don't care where it goes over there because it's going to get trimmed later anyway. And what I want to do is I want to now kind of imagine, if you will, imagine that there's a line, a virtual line, and I can draw it actually in there. Let's just draw, we'll trim a line from here, to this point. Okay, there to there. Now, that line, I'll use it as a trimming line. I'm going to trim here, 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 and there. Yep, that's good. And then I can get rid of that little segment and that. Okay. So basically, it's been used right now just to trim this off, and then I can now trim this to there. So there is, so far, kind of the frame or where we're at. All right. Now, on this, I'm actually going to change the curvature just a little bit. I'm going to kind of manipulate it with node editing. And, no, I'm not. I'm going to... No, I'm good with that. I'm going to draw another rectangle. This time it's going to be a very thin rectangle. There's going to be a top and a bottom. And we're going to kind of overlap this. And the height of it really doesn't matter to me. I just want a nice thin line. And I want it right under these kind of flat petals of this lotus. Now, I want to hold down the control key and I want to drag a copy of that right just above this line. Now, I would love the space to be the same distance between the petals of the lotus and the top of this rectangle and this bottom line and the bottom of this rectangle. So I'm going to measure, and I'll check your questions right now. This will stop in just a second here. I'm going to measure from here to here vertically, and I'm about 0.02193, right? 0.02193. Well, if I were to measure up here, okay, I'm at 0.04305, right? So if I take this object right here and I move relative on the y is up and down. If I take the distance that I'm at right now, 0.04305, and I subtract what I want to be at, so minus 0.02193, and I hit equals, that's the distance I need to move, but I need to move down, so it's got to be a negative number, so I'll put a minus sign in front, and then I'll click apply to bump that down. So now, when I measure from here to here, I'm at that 0.2193, right? You take your current distance that you're at minus what you're trying to achieve. That distance you have to move will get you to your goal. Okay? All right, let's see what questions we have. Oh, Michael, thank you, man. I appreciate you. I didn't even look over and see that. Yeah, that's awesome, Michael. First super chat. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate that. So, thank you very much. And Michael, I'm going to do it here. Bernasconi, let me know if I pronounced that correctly. Bernasconi. And if I didn't, I apologize. But thank you for that super chat. I greatly appreciate it, brother. And Gary Wolf asks, is there a shortcut in VCarve to find things and help contents? Having a real hard time what I'm looking for. It must be wording. All right. So in the first off, anything in the tools that you want to know, if you're in versions 10.5 or higher, you have a very cool tool, this little question mark in both of the corners on the toolpath side and here, called Get Help on this. So if you want to know about any of these tools, you can click on the tool and you can click on that question mark, and it's going to open the manual straight to the page of that tool that you're trying to learn. So it's going to get you right straight there on the page that you're wanting to learn. So any of your tools or tool path operations, any of these things here, you can click on the tool and you can click on Get Help on this, and it will open the manual. My manual keeps opening on the other screen, but it'll open the manual straight to the page of that tool. And it's a one-page read. You don't have to read a whole book just to learn how to use a tool, but it'll take you there. Now, anything outside of that, if you go to Help Contents, which is the front page of the manual, that front page of the manual, first things first is scroll down and you will see all of the menus that you see in your software, and those menus are interactive. Those menus are interactive, so you can click on a tool in the menus to get taken straight to the page. If what you're looking for is anything other than the tools or something, kind of a how-to or whatever, then they're going to look in the video tutorial browser, because the manual, other than the interface, getting started, the interface, and everything, your layers, clip art, tool paths, that's your table of contents, and pre-installed gadgets, modules, and menus. So your menus are like your menu, file menus and all that stuff. But your table of contents is here. There is, you either want to learn about one of your tools and how to use it by clicking on the tool to get taken to the page about that tool, or you're going to use the interactive manual on the left, the table of contents and stuff. But yeah, so that's that, Richard. Thanks, Michael. I got it. All right, awesome, man, awesome. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate all of you for sure. So if it's specific on how to draw or this or that, then you're going to want to go to Help Video Tutorial Browser, or you're going to want to YouTube, type in your search in YouTube and find a Vectric tutorial that is about that and stuff. But the Help Contents takes you to the front of the manual. You can scroll down and you have interactive menus down there, or you can just use any of your menu buttons over here, and you can click on the question mark to be taken to that page. Okay. Cool beans. All right. Now, the next thing that we want to do, hey, what's up, Dave Gatton? How you doing, buddy? The next thing we want to do is, now that we have these two lines drawn, these two rectangles, not lines, these two rectangles created, now I want to kind of, create almost like a dental tooth pattern or something, like dental tooth trim. I don't know what they call it. I think it's dental tooth trim. But anyway, I want to create a little rectangle. This rectangle is going to be probably about 0.075 inches wide, 0.16. Let's go to the size tool. I want to go 1.875. There we go. 0.075 is a good width. And now I want to create an array of these. I'm going to use the array tool, and I just want to create one row, and I want 20, we'll go 20 columns. And I want a gap in between. I want a gap in between of about, on the X, a 32nd. Yeah, a 32nd is what I want, but I definitely need more than 20, so Control Z to undo. Let's go 50, and I'm only trying to get halfway to the halfway line, okay? So let's go 50, and 50 definitely got me past the halfway line there. All of these others from here to here, I can delete. And I really probably only needed 20. That would have got me there. All right, so that's good. All right, that's that. That's that. Now, I want to take this line, or this shape here, and I want to draw a line. I'm sorry, I don't want to draw a line. I want to go into node editing, and for temporarily, I want to cut the vector right here, okay, on the corner, this lower corner. So I can use my extend tool to, when I point my extend tool on this bottom line, it's going to show where this line would extend to, right? And the, I'd like what would I like? I'd like it if I had more of an arc here. All right, I'm going to change this arc now in node editing really quickly. You see all those nodes? I'm going to redraw that curve. I'm going to fit arcs to a curve, and I want a Bezier curve, and I'm going to change my tolerance, and I'm going to get rid of all those node points. Okay, and it distorted my shape and all, but that's fine. I'm fine with that because I'm going to redraw that inner shape because I want to actually kind of, I'm going to delete this span there, and I want this curve to be more dramatic. I want it to be on the inside here. I want it, I don't care if I'm close and wide, that's fine. But I want this more pointing kind of down. And I'll bring this up. Again, on this curve here, I'm going to cut the vector for a minute on the lotus. Cut the vector. And I'm going to take this curve and I'm going to redraw it. That's the curve fit tool. I'm going to redraw it to get rid of all those points and everything, and I can recreate the shape. Let's do, since we're at it, let's do the inside here as well too. First of all, cut the vector on this corner. But all those nodes, I'll redraw that one as well. Okay, and I'll manipulate these. Now I'm going to just kind of be a little bit more manipulative here. And this inside one, I can go ahead and delete it because whatever I do with this one, I'm going to offset it. I'd like this one to have, let's go to node editing. I'd like a more dramatic kind of curve down to these kind of dental teeth here. And let's pull this in. And let's pull this back. All right, higher, higher, higher. Come on now, let's get rid of that point. it's going to fight with me. There we go. All right, now I can control this a little bit better. There we go. All right, from there, let me redo this really quickly. We're going to offset inward one more time. I just wanted more of a dramatic curve. We're going to offset inward 3/8 of an inch. Come on. And I want select new selected, and we're going to create that, and we're going to do it again. Okay. And then we're going to take this and offset. Let's get rid of this. Offset this outward. 1/8 of an inch. Nope, wrong direction. Outward, it's inward now. There we go. All right. On this lotus flower here to here, I'm just going to do a nice kind of arc. So this is going to be joined with a smooth curve. Join with a smooth curve. Okay. Join with a smooth curve, just to close that off. All right. One more time. Now that I've got the shapes that I want, extend tool. Extend this line to here. Use our scissors and trim that away. Wonderful. The extend tool, I'm going to extend this line down to here, and then I'm going to trim everything on that side of the line away. So that to that, and that, all the way to there. Okay, get rid of this. Then I'm going to take this, and I want a 90-degree kind of shot right here. Let me first of all trim this. 90-degree shot. I want to come right straight across from there to there. I'm going to go with a line tool, and I'm going to snap from here to there, space bar. And then I'm going to take my scissors once again and come in and clean this up. So clean that up, that, and that. Okay, so that's what I want. And that's what I want. Now I'm going to take these three shapes. This, you see how that's connected together? Can't have that connected together. I'm going to go to node editing mode. And on this corner here, I'm going to cut the vector, because this line should intersect, with this line. Okay, so this, I need to cut the vector right there. I'll redraw that line in just a minute. But I'm going to extend this to there. There we go. I want that finishing off. And then this, I'm just going to join with a straight line. Okay, so that'll be that. And that void, it's purpose. I want it there purposely. Okay. And the top one here, I'm going to mirror that down because I want the point upward. Bear with me. Draw a line. This will make sense in 2 seconds. I'm going to draw a line right straight across these guys. We'll just use that line because I'm going to take this object, select that line last, and I'm going to mirror flipping about the line. Okay, and because my line wasn't perfectly centered, neither was my object, so I'll just use my up arrow key and pull that up. And remember, let's snap here for a second. I was 0.0239 and some change. 0.0239 and some change. So my distance, if you recall, from the bottom of this lotus petal to the top of this rectangle was 0.2197. That's what I still want that to remain here from this line, this bottom line. So I'm going to move it up 0.02197. Okay. All right, that's it. Now, we're almost done. We're almost done. Then we'll mirror everything around. On here, we're going to create another kind of S curve, if you will. Another kind of S curve. And it's going to, we're just going to use the draw curve tool, and then we'll fine tune it afterwards. And let me see what your questions are. Hey, all right, guys, thank you very much. Oh man, Roger Brown, thank you for the $10 super chat. I got to start looking over here more often. And Richard Brooks, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys and girls. Let's see here. Polly Wants Crafter, Mr. Dave. Hey, Jerry. Let's see here. I never been happy with offsets because it did all of those points. This is Gold Laney, the greatest Vectric teacher I've ever seen. So yeah, we have a tool called Curve Fit. Fit curves to selected vectors. And that tool, you can turn those vectors into Bezier curves, into arcs, or into straight lines, and it'll get rid of all those nodes, and it'll minimize them based on your tolerance. Now, if your tolerance is set too high, be careful because it'll distort the shape a little bit. So I could have probably turned my tolerance down a little bit, but it cleans up the vector points and everything. So I don't know how YouTube took my subscribe bell notification off. I don't know. Subscribe, notify, subscribe. But these three shapes right here, I need to join them together really quickly. So they're open on this end. So if you notice in the join tool, I have three open vectors selected. So if we look up here, I have 1, 2, 3. 3 open vectors selected. But after I join, I'll have one open vector. It'll be one continuous line. So I do want to do that. We're going to be closing this off later in just a minute. But now we need to create our next S-curve. And you super chatters, man, thanks, guys and girls. Dave Gatton, I appreciate you, man. You are the real deal, Dave. It was good seeing you in Georgia, Dave. Really good seeing you in Georgia when I was up there. All right, so getting back to the getting back to the drawing here, back to the drawing board. What I'd like to do is I'd like, as this arc comes around, I'd like it to start thinning up a little bit and getting a little closer. So I'm going to go into my node editing here, and you see that new arc right there that we created earlier. That's that curve, right, with all those nodes that Jerry was talking about. We're going to do the curve fit tool, and we're going to just do it as a Bezier curve. That's what I want. We'll click on preview, and now when we go into node editing mode, we're down to those few points, right, and everything. Now, I want this arc, I want to bring it in closer, and I want it to start getting thinner as it gets here. And then as it starts coming around, I want it to gradually get to the width that it is up here. So as it comes around, I want it to start widening up and everything. You know, not that dramatic. Let's see here. Let's pull this back some. All right, there's another arc that we'll deal with in just a moment. But I want this. I want this curve to kind of start coming around, and I don't want it bottlenecking too quickly. But I want it to start start thinning out. Okay. And I'll be happy with that. All right. Now this curve here as well, again, I do not want to change the lotus shape at all, so I'm just going to disconnect it. So cut the vector there. Just basically disconnect it from that lotus outline. And then I'm going to use my curve fit tool. And I'm going to, redraw that curve. And then I'll reconnect it. Rejoin those two back together as one. Now here, on this, when I did the curve fit tool, it distorted it a little bit. So I want to make sure that I kind of pull it back into shape. Now this one's going to also kind of follow that suit where it kind of gets more narrow as it starts approaching. And this one, again, cut the vector here. And I have to do this a second time. You're like, didn't you already do that earlier? But if you remember, I deleted all those lines and redrew them, re-offset them and stuff, and it did that again. So let's, on this line here, oops, hold on. Always, when you click preview, click OK. Don't hit cancel like I did, and everything. But I want to fix this shape. And I want it to just start kind of getting thinner as it comes here. All right. So with that, now I want to select everything. Is it not going to let me today? This, and that. And I want to kind of grab all these anchors here. I'm going to use my right arrow key, and I'm going to just kind of extend them up and over a little bit. All right, that'll be good. All right, let's get the other curve drawn in. Now, there's going to be an S curve. All this is going to join together with a cool little, kind of like a little ball type of thing. But on this, I'll use the curve fit tool. We're going to have a curve that kind of starts, I don't know, pick a spot right here. It's going to come kind of, it's going to, here, let me do this. I'm going to make life easy on myself. I'm going to get rid of this line for a minute. Leave it just like that. And this line for a minute. I'll put them back. Don't worry. I'll use offsets and all. But I need this right here. So I'm not crossing over 4 lines every time. I want to take my curve tool and right about here. Right about somewhere right here. I want to come down and kind of cross these two, so it can be, it doesn't have to really kind of be straight, but just somewhere across these two. And then I want to come a little bit further, and I want to like start working my way back I'll clean up these lines in a minute. And I'm going to stop right there. Spacebar to finish. Now, got a lot of cleaning up to do with this one. Node editing mode. I want this curve to be a nice smooth curve all the way to here. So I'm going to remove this point here, and this point here. And I'm going to pull this down. And I'm going to pull this down. And I want it as kind of somewhat as bubbly as I can get. I want to get rid of one, just kind of a, not a teardrop, but just a nice arc. And I'm going to use my right arrow key to pull those over. Delete that point. Delete that point. I love going from point A to B when I can. Okay. Now, this line here gets offset. And it's going to get offset kind of... again, if I'm standing there looking at the line, inward, offset inward. So we're going to go offset inward, and I want to go an eighth of an inch is good. Eighth of an inch, perfect, good, good, good. And again, I want to be wide. And that offset, you know, that's that. Let's do that curve fit tool. Okay. I want to be kind of wide. It's ugly when it looks good when it's all done, I promise. I'm drawing the arcs and all. Get rid of this point. I hate that point right there. Give me a second. That point is making it flat. I need a point that's going to work with me. Oh, bear with me. Ugly sucker. I'm torn. Bear with me a second. Let's go. All right, I'm going to leave it just like, I'm going to call that good. I'm going to call that good. All right, let's fix this here. This is going to get rid of this point right here. And I'm going to take these two objects right here, and I'm going to join them with a straight line, or I could do a smooth curve. Let's do a smooth curve. Join with a smooth curve to finish that off there. And this one I want to join with a straight line there. Okay? All right. And then I want to take a circle... And I just want to kind of draw a 1/2 inch diameter circle. right about there. All right, let's do some trimming and kind of clean things up, and then we'll do some offsetting and all that stuff. So let's trim. And on this trim, I'm going to, because remember my center line and stuff, I really want this above the center line, because I'm going to be mirroring about the center. So bear with me a second, guys and girls. I really need this curve to be more dramatic. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, bear with me. I need this curve. Okay, good. All right, now I got to move this up into place. This goes here. I need just that little bit to be on the center line, because I want when it mirrors over, remember it's going to mirror over, I want two of these connecting kind of right here at the curve. So I can now I can bring this one down just a little bit. This one down just a little bit. Fix the curve a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to fiddle with it no more. All right, that's it. Okay, so one more time. I need this line to come back. And I'm just going to trim this line. I don't want to do that again. Cut the vector right there and delete this span. Okay, Jesus. All right. I will get it here in just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, that's fine. All right, let's get this circle into place. And let's do some trimming now. All right, one more time. So we're going to take this, that, and that. This, and that. This, and that to combine that together there. Up here, we're going to fix this. It needs to be a straight line. So node editing. This is going to be a line. Okay, and I'm going to be fine with all of that. Now, as a whole, I'm going to select all of this and offset it outward by 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And then in node editing, no, not node editing, sorry, in the scissor tools, this bottom line trims with this line. So get rid of all that. This top line, get rid of it. It's nothing. Get rid of this top line. That's nothing. And that's it. Wonderful. Holy jeez, that took forever to get there. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now we're going to cut this. I'm going to draw a line straight down from here to here. And I'm going to get rid of everything on this side of the line. Okay? So get rid of that. Now this one won't trim. Bear with me a second. There we go. About to say it wouldn't trim for a minute there. Now I also want this line gone, that vertical line. So node editing, delete this span. Okay, I want that line gone. Over here, anything below the center line, I want gone. It'll make things easier for me to connect. So imagine if I have a straight line here, right? Imagine if I have a straight line here. I want to trim everything below that line away. So everything below that line away. And I also, in node editing, I want to delete this span. Now, let's make sure my line is centered. You see how when I drew that line, it wasn't centered at all? I thought it started centered, but no, I didn't. Let's make that be more specific here. On that line, that center line, straight across. I don't care where you stop, just make sure you're on that center line. Scissors, trim, and after I trim this, we're going to look at the questions before we do anything else. Let's go here, here, and here. Node editing, get rid of this little span right there and get rid of the span here. Now I essentially have just created one quadrant of this frame and everything that I can mirror around. Now before I mirror it and all that stuff, let's see what I missed by not looking and paying attention. I'm trying to pay attention, everybody, but I'm trying to pay attention. Thanks, Doug. I appreciate those comments. Okay, so long story short, we have this lotus kind of Victorian frame wannabe thing here. I'm not no telling what it looked like. I kind of almost want these curves to be a little bit white, but we're good. We're going to call this good here. And if I wanted it to be wider, I could expand my straight lines and shove everything over to the right a little bit to bring everything just over a little bit more, which I actually am going to do. Hold on a second. We're going to go to node editing. We're going to select everything, and I'm going to select everything all of those nodes, all of these nodes, this node, and that's it. And I'm just going to use my left arrow key, and I'm going to shove that to the left. I'll be happy with that. Now, since I did that, on here, I'm going to take these two objects And I'm going to use my left arrow key and I want to bring them over. About like that. I'm going to take this object since the shapes are already there. We don't need node editing for this part. I'm going to take this objects here and I'm going to use my left arrow key and shove them over. Kind of get them in line, you know, somewhat with that. Think of a virtual straight line running from this point, you know, down. Right? So let me back them up a little bit. Now I'm going to take this shape and remember my offset or my kind of array tool. I don't need 50 of these bad boys. I just need 10 of them. I'm going to keep everything the same, but I'm just going to create some more, right? Let's go 12. 12 of those. Okay. Now, I got one that's going to fall right on the center line, right? So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my shape just a little bit. I'm actually going to move these over, and I'm going to split the line on one of these. I'll just split the line on this one. So, what I want is the center line. I want that to be on the center line, right? So, when I grab these to move them, if I grab them on the center line, I can move them over and snap them over. Okay, so that'll be on that center line. Oh, still missed it. Still missed it. All right, here we go. Select. Find the center. Drag. So drag and snap. Are you going to argue with me? Now that's centered. Okay. And that's fine. I'll be happy with that. Because I'm going to go to node editing. And I'm going to cut the vector right on this center line. And down here. I'm going to delete that because remember I'm mirroring it over. So when it mirrors, it'll create that whole one that same size. All right, everybody, here's where the magic takes place. Let's see what we created. Let's do this. And so held down your shift key when selecting more than one node. Yes. Anytime you're selecting more than one item, you hold your shift key down. I've been wondering how to grab odd nodes and stuff like that. Yeah, so the shift key when you're selecting more than one item. All right, let's take this bad boy and let's mirror it. We're going to create a mirrored copy, flip about job center. We're going to first mirror it horizontally, vertically, horizontally. Okay. All right. And there's our shape. Now we have some open vectors we have to contend with. So let's select everything. Go to the join tool. And you'll see that we have 120 closed vectors currently. There are 20 open. Now we will be able to close 7 of those. To make 127 closed. But we're still going to have 2 open vectors that we have to contend with. And that's fine. So we'll go ahead and join those. And now I'm going to right click on the screen and I'm going to go select all open vectors. And those open vectors are here and everything. And so where we need to, where they are open, you always look for the green nodes, right? And that'll tell you where you're open because the green nodes represent a start point, right? A start of a line. So if I come in here and I go into node editing, look for the green node, right? And so basically the lines crisscross one another. So if I go to the scissor tool there and I can trim that away, I still have to do the same thing over here on the other side. Zoom, 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 zoom. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, one side and the other. All right, now I should have 128 closed vectors. All right. Now let's V-carve this so you can kind of see, you know, this could be built into a shape or a model or this or that, but I'm just doing it as a V-carve. Let's say that there was, you know, some kind of nice little quote or phrase or something like that in there. Let's see here. Since y'all are happy that I'm finished, let's do a quote on happiness. And let's go to motivationals. Let's see here. All right, we'll do this one. We'll do, give me a second. I'm trying to select it. It won't let me select it. All right, copy. I'm copy and pasting right now. All right. We're going to open up the text tool. We're going to hit paste. We're going to go with 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch tall text. And we're going to back this up. Live with intention. Walk to the edge. Listen hard. Practice wellness. Play with abandon. Laugh. Choose with no regret. Do what you love. Life is if there is. And marry. Let's finish off her quote. Marianne. All right, let's get that centered. And we'll bring that down to 625. All right, let's get that on the board here. And I'm going to close this for a minute. I'm going to size this up. Pull her down. Bring this in just a little bit. All right, let's get that centered on the board, aligned to center. Let's pretend that this is our quote, which it's not, but let's pretend it is. Thank you, Marianne Hershey, for this beautiful quote that we're using in this lesson tonight. But we're going to go ahead and select all of this. And we're going to do a V-carving a couple of ways. Okay, so we're going to do a V-carve with no, let's see, carve, skip, carve, skip, carve. So no flat depth. We're going to use a 60-degree V-bit, no end mill, and we're going to calculate this cut. The reason why I was saying carve, skip, when you have multiple vectors, selected, the V-carve bit is going to carve the first two, skip the next two, carve the next two, skip the next two, carve the next two. So in that order. So here, if we were kind of looking at this, it would carve here, skip here, carve here, skip here, and then carve the letters, right? So first off, we had some issues with our vectors. So let's see what they are. We have some overlaps. Our lines. The lines, I forgot to trim the line that was there, right? So let's fix that real quick. Is it going to let me? Is it going to let me? Are you going to let me? Let me see here. Node editing. Delete the span. Node editing. Delete the span. All right, this one down here too. Node editing, delete the span. Node editing, delete the span. Now, if what's good is up there, it's also the same down at the bottom, right? So we got to get rid of it there too because I didn't trim that line. I should have. Delete the span. Delete the span. Up here too. See, when you forget one thing, it makes you have to do extra work. All right, let's select and join. We just cut those vectors. That didn't, just because we deleted the span doesn't necessarily mean that we join them. There's still 4 open vectors, right? So we got to join them to close them off. Let's recalculate that toolpath. That's what the warning was that shot up and everything and stuff. All right, so preview the visible toolpath. Let's see what we've created here. Who knows? Now, I'm also going to see if there's a vector missing as well. Okay, so there's not a vector missing. All right, so remember, now let's go look at the 2D view just for a minute. And let's check off the toolpath and go to solid view. I want you to see what I was verbally or visually what I was describing. So a V-carve toolpath cuts between the first 2 lines, skips the next 2 lines, cuts between the next 2, skips, cuts between the next 2, right? Which is our letters and stuff. If I would not have had this outside line selected, then would have carved here, skipped here, carved here, skipped the letters, meaning it would have been raised up. Right? So it would have, you'd have had that raised design and everything. So let's look at this as a whole. Just kind of, let's zoom in. Let's turn the color off for a minute. So we have kind of this little pattern with our little lotus leaf on the bottom and the top and all that jazz. Now, we're going to finish it up. The final. We're going to take this and we're going to offset outward. I think I can go 1/4. Oh, just under. Let's go 3/16. 0.1875. Okay. So 3/16 gets me there. All right. Hold down that shift key. Hit delete to get rid of all the other offsets. I just wanted this outside line because we're going to do a profile cut. Cutting all the way through our material with a 1/4 inch end mill on the outside of the line. I'm not going to add tabs for preview purposes. All right. So this design could look good up or down, or straight up or down, or vertically or horizontally. Let's add some color just to give it some character so you can see what's happening and all. And that, all in all, is how you would create a decorative border. That was a long way around, wasn't it? But basically, we use the curve tool. We use the node editing tool. We use the rectangle tool. We used the array tool to create the array of those boxes across the top. We used our offset tool. We used our fit to curve tool to get rid of all those extra nodes. It may not be the best looking design or anything and all that, and albeit and all, but we created somewhat of a decorative border frame. I mean, this could have been any shape or anything, including the lotus. Hopefully you got a kick out of that one. But we created a decorative looking frame with the use of our offset tools, our node editing, our array tools and join tools and trim and scissors and all of those things that we utilize to get this, right? This end result. Now, there is one thing that I see that I would do a little bit different is on this. let's zoom over here. Number one, the trim on the squares and all, I'd probably bring them a little bit closer and not trim so many. Number two, I would widen this square. Remember the two little squares at the top and bottom? I would widen this square, connect it to this, so this arc, when it comes down, it'd actually be just a joining row. There wouldn't be a gap right here. And then I would actually get rid of this lower one. So if you saw that in practice, and this is the last thing that we're doing, then we have to say goodnight, ladies and gentlemen, is what I'm saying that I would do differently is I would actually come in and take those two away and those two away. I'm going to take. Let's see, these two are trimmed, right? So I'm going to take these away for a minute, leave them right there. I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to array him over a little bit more. I'm going to go 5 over, delete what I don't need. Right. One more, man. One more. Let's go 6. Yeah. All right. These two will replace these two. So I can delete the 2 that I want. I want that cut there for a reason. I don't know. Just something. All right. Let's get rid of this. Let's take this. Mirror, copy. Creative mirrored copy, flip about job center, flip horizontally. Okay. To create that over there. I'm going to get rid of all of these. At the bottom, because we're going to copy down. These boys and girls are going to get moved down. I'd come down to right about there, and I would make them a little bit taller. Not much, not much. Then I will mirror those, flipping them vertically about job center to put them back down here. And then I would take this shape and I would widen it up. Drag it over. I'm going to go into node editing. Delete the span of this line here for the moment. And use my extend tool to extend this line to here. Okay. Then I'm going to take my line tool and draw that line back there. I don't want this one to change right there. Then I can use my scissors and connect that together right there. I could almost see this being like over and following that angle a little bit, right? But forget it for right now. We'll just go with this. Now over here, same thing, node editing, delete this span, extend this line to here, draw a new line from there to here, and trim this and this, connecting that together. Okay. And so, again, I don't want to repeat what I just did down below. So we're going to take node editing, cut the vector here and here, cut the vector here and here, delete that, delete the rectangle, delete that, select this, since it's all going to be joined together in a moment, and copy, mirror, mirror, flip it vertically. Okay, that way I don't have to repeat all that stuff. All right, let's select everything, go in here into our join tool. We have 4 open vectors. When we hit join, they'll all be closed again. And then I'm going to re-carve this design. Calculate. Nothing's changed with my outside profiles and my offsets and all that stuff, so I don't need to change the profile. But I do want to change this because I think it would just maybe look better. And that's it, right? So, all right, so now we have something saying that it's going to cut through, right? So there is something, select all open vectors. There's no open vectors. Select all duplicates. There's no duplicates. So when it's going to skip, carve, or I'm sorry, carve, skip, carve, skip, carve, skip. Now it's wanting to do the raised version because I made changes, right? So let me show you what I'm referring to. I've got that extra profile. Remember, that's my profile. That needs to be turned off because I made that addition of that extra offset for the profile cut, that 3/16, and it does not belong in the V-carve toolpath. That's for the profile cut only. So what was happening was it was saying, hey, you're about to cut all this all the way through your material, right? And everything. So now we can preview all the toolpaths again. So I had that new offset for our profile selected when it shouldn't have been. All right, so what this did basically is it just kind of created a bit of a joining, if you will, when it's finished carving. And if we come in here and look, we'll add some color in here. But basically, it just kind of closed off that section in there. And again, this dental tooth design would look much better if it went all the way over and the tops were trimmed of the rectangles to match this arc. So if those continued over to right about here, and those match there, it would look better, right? But you get the idea. So that's it, right? So with all that, don't forget to save, right? Somebody said don't forget to save. Always save early and save often, and I'm terrible about that. So we'll save this. I've got so many files that one of these days I got to go through and organize them. In our downloads, we'll call this our Victorian frame. Now the vector's not, it's not the greatest and all. If I clean this up and put the dental and all the angles and stuff over there, if y'all want this vector of this Victorian frame, you can let me know, and everything. But this, I don't know. It's not, I mean, it's not the greatest in the world, but it's something. It's something. It's just a combination just to show you curves and arcs and circles and node editing and all that wonderful stuff, right? All right, so let's see if what I missed in the chat here. So hold your shift key when selecting nodes. Yes. The straight rectangles were close to the top and bottom. When you started flipping, they're going to cause any issue. So I moved them down closer to the rectangles here. I moved them down closer to this lower line. Let's add the color back in there so you can see. So this black line kind of right down here and everything. So I could widen that top line up so I can connect it. So I could connect it together to those arcs and everything. So no, there would be no issue. It would be no issue caused by that, Jerry, at all. That's what I was talking about. There you go. Let's see here. And let's see here. Hey, Crystal, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm sorry I'm catching up late on the chat here. Great class, any questions, everyone. So, did I miss any questions? Everybody I saw with question marks, all the questions were pretty much answered. Yeah, there wasn't that many, but I want to really thank you all, super chat and everything. It's 9:30. We're going to call it a night. But I appreciate the few questions that y'all did have. And I'm sorry that I couldn't answer the one Planet CNC question for JR. That one was just a little bit too technical. It was way over my head. There's a lot smarter cats out there than me, for sure. So, but JR, if you ask support at planet-cnc.com that question, they'd be happy to answer it. And but hopefully you got something out of this and some of the questions and all the super chatters. Thank you very much. That revenue really helps out. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you for that. And we will see you guys and girls in another 2 weeks. Not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday after. And do me a favor. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. Make a note of it. It's Laney.Shaughnessy, Laney.SHAUGHNESSY at spindletv.com. Laney.Shaughnessy at spindletv.com. Anybody, if you could, email me with what you would like to see in these videos, suggestions, projects, anything. Tonight, when I was trying to think of what to talk about and stuff, in the Q&A is always kind of my fallback and stuff. It's great. I love doing Q&As once a month or so, but not all the time. But the project started off, first I was going to do a challenge coin display flag with little challenge coins racks on it with inlays, inlays stars, V-carve inlay. So it was going to be a V-carve inlay project, and it was going to be an American flag and then little shells for the challenge coins and stuff. And then that changed to something for decorative for the house. I was looking at cutting boards with something and it was like, man. And so we ended up on the Q&A, but then I said, I always try to do a project with the Q&A just to fill the space. But this one was just how to create shapes and things and all in the lesson and everything. So we started off with 2 arcs to create this lotus. We mirrored the arc over and joined them together. From there, we offset outward and inward at the same time. And then those inward copies got moved out. They got offset, moved out, and so on and so forth. Watch the first part of that, and that's how you make a lotus flower. But But I would love suggestions, because coming up every other week, you know, or things like that, kind of classes and stuff, I'd like them to be more productive for you guys and girls. And it's actually hard coming up with ideas for projects that haven't been there, done that, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, 3D modeling. I don't do a lot of 3D modeling. I mean, I do 3D modeling, but I don't do a lot of it because I try to keep the classes to where it's Vectric, VCarve Desktop Pro, or Aspire users can use it. But yes, I do need to add in some 3D modeling. Might do some 3D modeling. Next class, we'll do some 3D modeling, and we'll do some trimming, some clipping. You can use clipping in the levels in Desktop and Pro to trim models and stuff. So we might do that. But I need ideas, and if you guys and girls have them, I don't care what they are. We'll use what we can, you know, throw away what we can't. But any suggestions would be super, super helpful. So I'd appreciate that. My email's in the chat right above, laney.shaughnessy@spindletv. I'd love to see those emails come in with your ideas for classes and everything. And it's getting to be summertime now. I'm getting ready to kind of reorganize my shop and get busy out there again. So I'm buying a whole new second camera setup. So these super chats help with that stuff. But I'm going to be filming out in the. We're going to be doing some classes at the CNC. You know, carving and setup and things like that and stuff. We'll be doing some carving at the CNC and stuff. I'm going to get the cameras and all. It's just a pain in the arse right now, going from taking all of this and all the setup and trekking it out to the small shop, getting it all set up, and then bringing it back in and trying to getting it set up in here and back and forth and back and forth. So I'm buying a whole second setup for out there to be able to do classes more at the CNC, so we can do kind of see finished products and that kind of thing. But so any ideas that you have would be great. Thanks for your super chatters. Thanks for you all. Y'all have a wonderful night. We'll see you later. And I say see you later before I was ready to say see you later. All right. See you later, everybody.